Welcome back. I'm Dr. Cheek and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. And today we're going to talk about personality and personality disorder. And we're going to make a distinction between those two and understand them a little bit better. There are a multitude of reasons why I want to have this discussion. One thing is that we tend to have a negative connotation or negative stigma associated with personality disorders. And we also have a tendency to see personality disorders as something that has the inability to change, that's something that's going to be static and resistant to change throughout a person's lifespan. And that may not necessarily be the case. And this is why I want to discuss it today and actually give a little bit more information about personality and personality disorders so we understand them fully, and maybe hopefully we can remove some of the stigma around having a personality disorder. So first, what is personality? What does it mean when we talk about our personality? For many of us, our personality is how we see ourselves. It's who we define ourselves as. It sometimes speaks to the core of how we see ourselves. In actuality, what personality is, as defined by the APA, is an enduring configurations of characteristics and behaviors that comprises an individual's unique adjustment to life, including major traits, interests, values, self-concepts, abilities, and emotional patterns. Now, simply put, or a more simple definition for personality, is a pattern of thoughts, behaviors, and emotions that makes an individual unique. It's a different cluster of traits that make us all unique. And for a while, there's been a debate as to whether personality is more reflective of nature or nurture. There's a debate whether it's more inherently based off your inborn characteristics. That's your nature. That's what you're born with. That's all the things that we get at birth. Or is it nurture? So nurture is your environment. Nurture are your environmental factors. Nurture are the things that happen external to you that contribute to how you see your world, how you engage with the world around you. Now, that debate of nature or nurture, most studies have shown that our personality is a combination of both. It's a combination of both nature and nurture. And all too often, what I find is that some people have a tendency to equate temperament with personality. They tend to use it or see it as synonymous of one another. And your temperament is not your personality. Temperament and personality are two different things. Although temperament contributes to your personality. Temperament is the nature part of personality. Your temperament is something that you're born with. It is how you engage with behaviors and emotions starting at birth. You may notice that there is a child who is less in tune with your emotional experience or their own emotional experience. There also may be the child who is fully aware of everybody's emotions, willing to engage with everybody emotionally. There could be a child at birth that you notice will cry and seek affection from others, while at the same time, you may also have another child who rarely cries, who has an easier or more easygoing temperament. They're not requiring a lot of input from caregivers. They like affection, they like spending time with others, but they also have the ability to spend time with themselves. So our temperament is our nature, is what we're born with, and it can be seen as early as infancy as to what someone's temperament is. And again, we sometimes use this synonymously with personality, although that is just one factor of our personality, and that is our temperament. Another nature factor of our temperament is genetics. Certain ways of behaving, certain ways of experiencing emotions or displaying emotions are genetically encoded into us at birth. So again, there are some genetic ways that we behave and some genetic ways that we emote. So understanding that that's also the nature part that contributes to our personality. But we don't get personality until we combine that nature, temperament, and genetics with nurture. And nurture is the environment. Nurture are the environmental factors that play a role in how we engage with our external environment. So our environmental factors could be things such as parenting styles, the type of environment that you're growing up in. Is it a comfortable environment? Is it a healthy, safe environment? Or is it an abusive or neglectful environment? What access to resources do you have? Are you in a class where you have less access to resources? Are your basic needs being taken care of? Or are you constantly looking for shelter, food, clothing? Are those basic things a concern for you in childhood, or those things are readily accessible to you? Things such as your relationships, not just your relationships with caregivers, your relationships with family, to your relationships with your peers, the experiences that you've had growing up, whether they're negative or positive experiences. Were you bullied? Did you have great peer relationships? Did you have experience in school or in your environment that was welcoming? Or did you have an experience in school or in your environment that was isolating? Those are all of the environmental or nurturing factors. Now, this is where personality disorders enters the chat. A personality disorder, again, defined by the APA, is a group of conditions marked by an enduring pattern of thinking, perceiving, and relating that disrupts long-term functioning and are not confined to isolated experience or isolated episode. Now, more simply put, a personality disorder is a mental health condition where people have a lifelong pattern of seeing themselves and reacting to others in a way that can cause conflicts or problems. Now, unlike our general personality disorders are a combination of genetic vulnerabilities and a maladaptive or harmful environment. So our personality disorder is simply saying that not only did I inherit traits that make me more vulnerable to certain emotional or behavioral aspects, but now I'm also in an environment that is contributing to those vulnerabilities in a way that I have to figure out a way to navigate and adapt. And my way of navigating and adapting to my environment is unhealthy and it's unhelpful. So those are what personality disorders are. They are a combination of genetic vulnerabilities such as having a natural genetic predisposition for having experienced some type of paranoia or delusions. It may also be naturally being sensitive to the emotions of others or the responses of others, having a natural sensitivity to your own emotions, needing more emotional understanding and input from caregivers. And also, you may have a natural tendency to overthink or overanalyze or process information differently. And this natural vulnerability to your environment meets an environment that's not confirming, that's dismissive, that is negative, that is harmful, that is maladaptive. So maybe you grew up in an environment where you were taught that you're too much, that you are always being extra, that you're dramatic, or you grew up in an environment that they saw your emotions as problematic. So you never learned how to manage those emotions. And it's problematic, but it's problematic that you've learned how to deal with. And it's become a part of who you are. Hence, our personality. Now, we have a tendency to think that these things are just static, these things are unchangeable. However, there are certain personality traits, not temperament, not those things that you were genetically born with, that can be changed. So, the question sometimes is PD or is personality disorder treatable? Yes, but that's going to be hard because what it requires is a change in our core beliefs. And if you've never heard of core beliefs are those rigid thoughts that we have, not only about ourselves, but about the world around us and our potential and possibilities in that world around us. And if you think challenging or changing unhelpful thoughts is a process, imagine changing a belief about yourself and something you felt or have deemed a part of who you are up until this point. So imagine that you are essentially trying to change the core of who you are. And in trying to change the core of who you are, it's not a simple process. It's not as simple as I can take a medication to help manage what's going on, to alleviate this personality disorder. There is medication that can help with certain symptoms associated with personality disorder, but the medication is not going to make that change. It's going to require some active changing of those core beliefs and how we respond to our emotions and the emotions of others and the environment based off the things we've learned thus far. It's the changing of the things or unlearning the ways that we've learned how to navigate our environment that has led to the personality disorder that we meet criteria for at this time or diagnosis for. Now, what I hope you take from this video today is that we all have a personality. Our personality is not a matter of nature. It's not a matter of how we were born. It's not a matter of how we were treated or how we were raised. It's a combination of both of those things. It's a combination of those innate characteristics. It's a combination of that temperament that we tend to associate solely with our personality, and genetics. Those are the nature aspect. And what did your environment teach you? What did you learn from in your environment? How did your environment engage with you, and how did you engage with your environment? And now that those two things combine, now we have our personality. Personality is a combination of nature and nurture. And in that combination, when we have vulnerabilities natural vulnerabilities that occur because of temperament and genetics, and we combine that with maladaptive and harmful environments, this is when we get personality disorders. I wanted to have this conversation because my hope is that we can remove the stigma away from personality disorders and understand that personality disorders are not untreatable. They are treatable. They are difficult because it is an aspect of us trying to change the core of who we are. And that can be very difficult, and it's not an easy process, and it's not a process that everyone is willing to go through. I want to remove the stigma associated with people feeling like certain individuals with personality disorder, they are somehow at fault for having the personality disorder, or they are always consciously aware of how they are presenting to others. Do I want to remove the accountability away from people misbehaving or poorly behaving as a result of a personality disorder? No. But I do want to remove the stigma associated with others feeling like people are somehow to blame for having a personality disorder, or it's something that naturally happens to them. It's something wrong with them as to why they can't actually engage with the world, and not understand that it's not just a matter of what's happening for a person naturally, what they were born with, but it's also the environment that they grew up in that has created this personality disorder as a way of learning how to adapt to the situation that they are in. But that adaptation that they've created is creating new problems in their day-to-day life as adults. And that requires some hard work on their part, are actually seeing those adaptations as problematic. Not everyone with personality disorders see those adaptations as problematic. And if they don't, the likelihood of them making those core belief changes or those core changes are less likely. But personality disorders are treatable. As always, I hope you take something from this video today that was helpful, that was informative, that gives you a little bit more information to use moving forward in life or in general. Please feel free to jot down any thoughts, questions, or comments you have below. I thank you for taking the time to listen, and I'll be seeing you again very soon. Thank you.